Hello and welcome to Going for Two, where we never kick the extra point. Now, I've made it very clear on this channel that I am a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. However, over the past couple of years now, the Giants have been run so incompetently that it's actually starting to get on my nerves. And their GM, David Gettleman, I truly believe, is setting this team back by about 10 years. There are three major sticking points in these moves that bother me the most, and the first one has to be the drafting of Saquon Barkley. Now, I think Saquon Barkley is very talented. He's a very good player. However, running back in the top 5 is something you can only do when your roster is finished. The Giants' roster very clearly was not finished last season, and Saquon Barkley did that no favors. Barkley had a great year. He won Rookie of the Year, but did it really affect the Giants' bottom line all that much? I don't think so.
I'm going to try to play devil's advocate here. As far as Barkley's concerned, he is a generational talent. He is that good. I admit he's a great running back. It's hard to pass him up, but I can also see your argument there. But it's just hard to pass up a guy like Barkley.
No, I get that, and I do find it hard to pass on Saquon Barkley myself. However, I saw it put very well once when someone said, after they lost to the Eagles, where would the Giants be without Saquon Barkley? And somebody said, yeah, instead of 1 win, they would have 0. I mean, he didn't move the needle that much for a bad team last year. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott certainly made the Dallas Cowboys better, but that was because they had a great O-line, a good receiver, a decent defense, a good quarterback. Running back is a luxury you can afford if you're good enough to, and the Giants were not. The second big move, more recently, has to be the trading of Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. is young, he just signed a big extension, he's in his prime, and you sent him to Cleveland for a mid-first round pick, a okay safety in Jabril Peppers, and I believe it was a third-round pick. Odell Beckham was a superstar. If he wasn't the best receiver in the league, he was certainly going to be as Antonio Brown declined. You don't trade once-in-a-generation talents for spare parts like it seems like the Giants did.
Okay, this move is hard to explain. Frankly, I can't find any positive out of it. I don't like the move. I don't like the things they got for him. I just don't believe this is a good move, even though I'm trying to find something positive.
I mean, I was never an Odell Beckham Jr. fan. I've made that clear on this channel before as well. I couldn't stand him after the catch, how he got lauded for this into superstardom in a game that his team lost. And when Odell was there, the Giants did a lot of losing. But here's the thing. Odell moves the needle as much as a receiver can. The Giants won a lot of games they would not have in some of those years because Odell Beckham Jr. was putting up 200 yards and 2 touchdowns every week. I mean, I get it. He has a bit of an attitude, but as Antonio Brown showed us, it can get a lot worse than wanting the football. I mean, that was really Odell's main issue. He didn't like losing, and he wanted the football. A lot of great receivers have wanted that. Terrell Owens had it. Keyshawn Johnson famously made his big deal about it. And to trade him to Cleveland for the package they got, I mean, they should have gotten like an RG3 package type thing if they were going to trade him for that, at least in my opinion. But now I must get into the worst move of all of these. It's the most recent, and it is so jarringly terrible that I have nothing positive to say or even spin about it. Selecting Daniel Jones with the 6th overall pick. Do you have anything to say positive for this one?
Let me go first on this one. Let me go first. All right, first of all, if I'm playing devil's advocate, I can recall a time when they drafted a fellow named Phil Simms. And people said, who the hell is Phil Simms? So as a casual fan, I understand that there are the scouts and the management. They know a lot more than the casual fan knows. And so I admit that there could be a possibility that they could pick somebody that I don't know. If I look down at the 32nd pick in the draft, the Patriots picked N'Keal Harry. Never heard of N'Keal Harry, but I trust Belichick knows what he's doing. And so I'll say, okay, just because I don't know the guy, it could be all right still. But having said that, who the hell is Daniel Jones?
Now, I agree. There's a lot of great players in the NFL right now that on draft night I had no idea who they were. Up until about a week before the draft, I had no idea who Leighton Vander Esch was, and he was probably the best rookie the Cowboys have had since, Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott. But this guy, let me tell you a story here, folks. A couple days before the draft, I was watching the Dan Patrick Show one morning, And he was telling me that one of the analysts that he was listening to had mentioned that they thought Daniel Jones was the next Peyton Manning.
Not Eli.
Not Eli Manning, Peyton Manning. Him and his boys riffed on this for a couple of minutes and they moved on. Myself and my friends and my dad, everybody, we were joking about this and tearing this apart. Anytime Daniel Jones' name came up, next Peyton Manning. Look at him right there, next Peyton Manning. Because Peyton Manning is, without question, the most polished prospect in the history of football. His dad was an NFL quarterback. His brother would be an NFL quarterback. He was great at Tennessee, a Heisman contender, Heisman finalist his last year with 4,000 passing yards, first overall pick, goes into the NFL and kills it. He's probably the third best quarterback of all time in my opinion, right behind Brady and maybe Montana. And to compare Daniel Jones, a guy who could not eclipse 3,000 yards or 30 touchdowns in any of his college football seasons, to Peyton Manning is laughable. Maybe people have forgotten what Peyton Manning was since he's been retired for a couple of years now, but I haven't. Peyton Manning is one of the best of all time. I thought it was absurd. And then I see throughout draft week, he's creeping up the draft boards. He's creeping up, and I'm thinking, surely not. Nobody's going to be fooled into taking this guy ahead of Drew Lock or even Will Greer. And then I hear that the Redskins, they're planning a trade up into the top 5 maybe, and maybe there's a quarterback that Daniel Snyder likes. And I'm thinking, surely not. Please let it be Daniel Jones. Let him trade all the way up to take Daniel Jones. And that doesn't happen once we get to the 5th pick. So up to the 6th pick, we're wondering, is it going to be Josh Allen? Is it going to be Dwayne Haskins? And the Giants, with the 6th overall pick, actually select Daniel Jones ahead of Dwayne Haskins. How does one come to this conclusion?
If you can't throw 3,000 yards in college, how do they expect him to throw 3,000 yards in the NFL? The coverage is tighter. It's just a tougher game. You're going to have less time in the NFL to throw. I don't understand the point.
And I get the thing. Duke is not a great football program. I understand he's not dealing with the best of talents, but you have to consider here, he's playing in the ACC, not the SEC. I mean, some of those defenses, he should be able to carve up at least a little bit here. I mean, you should be able to pad your stats to 3,000 in the college game with the offenses the way they are. I mean, against Virginia, who, to my knowledge, is not what we call a powerhouse in the world of college football, he threw more picks than touchdowns in his 3 games against them. I mean, it's absolute insanity. Dwayne Haskins threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns last year. He doubled Jones's touchdowns and nearly, if not actually, doubled his yards last season. I mean, what more does this guy have to do to appeal to the Giants as a quarterback prospect? And they let him slide all the way to Washington at 15 because they liked Daniel Jones? Is it because he kind of looks like Eli Manning? I mean,
he's a nice guy.
I bet he is a nice guy. He kind of looks like the guy you get to play Eli in a movie about Peyton because nobody's going to make a movie about Eli. But I just couldn't get it. And then David Gettleman drops the bomb a few days after the draft that he fell in love with Daniel Jones after 3 possessions at the Senior Bowl. This is one of the most absurd takes I've ever heard by an acting general manager, and it will be used in the NFL films about Daniel Jones for better or worse for the rest of his career. You couldn't say, like, there was tape from, like, a conference championship or a bowl game or even the combine as athleticism. No, 3 possessions from what is essentially a padded scrimmage. Not the whole game, even 3 possessions, and he said he didn't score on one of them. So you had 2 good possessions you liked at the Senior Bowl, and you're going to spend a top 10 pick on this kid from Duke that can't throw for 3,000 yards. But wait a minute. His coach, David Cutcliffe. Now, if you don't know who David Cutcliffe is, that's fair. I don't have a great knowledge of him. But he was actually Eli Manning's head coach when he was in college at Ole Miss, and he was Peyton Manning's quarterback's coach when he was at Tennessee. So, essentially, what seems to have happened here is they've said, this guy coached these 6'5 Mannings, so this guy looks like a Manning, and so we're going to draft him based on that. And here's the thing. People talk about Cutcliffe as this great offensive mind, this great coach, and I don't doubt that. He made Duke's football into a bowl team. That's impressive. However, that means we've seen what a great offensive mind is doing with Daniel Jones, and he's not doing much with him. Could it be possible that Daniel Jones has somehow already peaked, and he's just not very good at football?
Okay, it seems that way. I just hope that you never meet him. And
well, now hold on a minute. Now that's true. I'm sure Daniel Jones would be able to beat the tar out of me because he's a pretty big guy here, and I'm sure Daniel Jones is a nice person. And I don't actually wish him failure, except for the 2 times a year he's playing the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, that's right.
But the circumstances of his drafting are so absurd that I can't wrap my head around it. Let's go back to draft day itself here for just a moment, because David Gettleman said that he could guarantee 2 teams between the Giants' first-round picks would have taken Daniel Jones had they not. So we're going to go through those picks here, and I'm going to see how close I think that that's a possibility. The 7th overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They just signed a big extension to Nick Foles. They weren't taking a quarterback.
Next was the Lions.
They got Stafford. There's no way they're taking a quarterback. Buffalo Bills, they took Josh Allen at 7 last year. Not going to happen.
Steelers, no way.
Big Ben, it's not the year. He's still got time left. Cincinnati Bengals, maybe. But by not taking Haskins, that tells me they probably thought that they needed the offensive tackle Jonah Williams more. Green Bay Packers, they're not taking Aaron Rodgers' backup this year. Miami Dolphins, now that was kind of interesting to me, but the fact that they also passed on Haskins to take Wilkins makes me think they really do want Tagovailoa or Herbert or one of the guys from next year. I think they're trying to hold off on that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Atlanta, Matt Ryan, no, not a chance. The Redskins, they took Haskins. I think, honestly, they would have taken Haskins either way. I don't think they wanted Daniel Jones. And then we have the Carolina Panthers, who have Cam Newton. There's no chance on this earth, I'm willing to say, that they were going to take a quarterback in the first round when Cam Newton is still on the roster. And then we get to the Giants' 17th pick. So unless Gettleman was counting himself as one of those 2 teams he can guarantee, then the only team I think maybe is the Miami Dolphins that would have taken Jones. Which is possible, I admit it. But honestly, he wasn't my first quarterback, obviously. Everybody's first quarterback was Kyler Murray. I agree with that myself. Number 2 has to be Haskins, a very close number 2. But after that, for me, I say Drew Lock, I say Will Grier, and I think I say Ryan Finley, because all of those guys can give me a season that I can look at and say they played good football that season. Daniel Jones hasn't done that for me yet, and they took him at number 6. That's very scary. I think that's all I have on Daniel Jones for now, but I do want to look at their number 17 pick really quickly. Because this pick didn't bother me for the longest time. I like Dexter Lawrence. I wanted the Cowboys to take him if he was there with our second-round draft pick. But here's the thing. Dexter Lawrence is a big 6'4", 6'5", 340, 350-pound defensive tackle type. Just a big, run-stopping nose tackle. Huge guy, and I kind of like that kind of player. I feel like a team could use one of those guys. But here's the problem with that. Last season, on their roster, they had the guy they signed in 2016, big old Damon Harrison. All-pro, 6'3", 355 defensive tackle that they traded to the Detroit Lions for a conditional 5th-round pick. And now they draft the exact same archetypal player, almost exactly the same physically, with the 1st-round pick they got for Odell Beckham Jr. So in a way, they traded Damon Harrison away, created a need, and filled that need with the thing they traded Odell for, and didn't get any better at that position. Probably got worse since Lawrence is a rookie. And worst yet, Lawrence wasn't even the first tackle off the board. Ed Oliver at 9, Wilkins at, I believe, 13.
13 to the Dolphins.
And if you think about that, knowing Daniel Jones would be there at 17, because I'd be willing to put money on that, you could have gotten the best defensive tackle in the draft, in addition to getting your bad quarterback at number 17. So in review, the Giants spent their highest draft pick in a decade on a running back when the roster was weak. In trading Damon Harrison and letting Landon Collins go, they created 2 needs that they then filled with Dexter Lawrence and Jabril Peppers by trading away Odell Beckham Jr., the franchise's best player since probably Lawrence Taylor. And now, with the 6th pick, they have taken a quarterback that has been universally panned as a draft pick at number 6. And, as far as I can tell, has no discerningly good qualities other than he's tall and reminds people of the Mannings for some reason. All of this together, in conjunction with the Giants having a couple bad drafts before Gettleman, Eli Apple, Eric Flowers, the Giants have been set back by at least 10 years here. But that is just my opinion on the matter. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. I'd love to see any dissenting takes here, of somebody who can spin this. It'd be great to see, or any Giants fans who want to talk about this themselves. This has been Going for Two, and remember, never kick the extra point.